What's up, everyone? Welcome to yet another episode of TokeMoments. Today, I have one of my favorite people. She's actually one of my. I don't think she even knows how favorite she is, or how she's one of my fave, whatever the English is. Auntie Iyabo, aka. I love calling you Auntie Iyabo. I think from the
Oh my
show, it
God.
just stuck. Like every time Tony said it, it just stuck.
Tony did that.
And I'm always like, Auntie Iyabo, I can't call you anything else, but I just love it. How are you?
I'm good.
You look
I'm
really
fine.
nice.
Thank you.
Thank you for keeping with the memo. I don't feel bad for wearing my shades.
Thank you.
I mean, honestly, just when you walked in here, I was just looking at you and I said to myself, this has been a long overdue session.
It has.
Because I've been on your ass.
You
trying
have.
to get you on this. And the only reason why I got you is because you needed me for something else. Because you know how you do. I will call you out. Because you call people out
so
online.
like this one is called trade by butter.
It is. Every time you set your bonnet online and your ring lights, everybody knows that you're about to drag somebody.
I'm about to
so
drag
this is me
someone.
dragging your ass back because it took us so long. When can I have you this week? I'm busy. And finally, only just because I'm seeing you right after this.
And I must say, like, this is my first podcast ever. I have turned down so many.
Why?
Now, yeah.
Why did you not want to do any before?
Well, for me, my controversy started when I, granted a lot of interviews way back then, and I noticed that a lot of things were taken out of context, and it kind of affected,
Yeah.
how I feel.
Yeah.
So because of that, I just don't like granting. I like to tell my stories. I just say my stories how I want it, and when you pick it from my page or how I have been able to tell my story, then it's fine. Because I know it's coming from me. Because a lot of times, you say one thing and then the media or the plugs are putting out another thing, and you begin to say, oh my God, that was not what I meant. And how many people are you going to go back to and start explaining things? Oh, I just
That's true. The media relationship it's a bit of a love-hate relationship that we're all stuck in this bubble. Because sometimes I tell people that I understand the need for the agenda to agenda for these guys. But then sometimes they also just don't know where to cross the line.
They don't.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's like boundaries. I get it. You need the clicks.
Yeah.
You need people to come to your side.
And it's the narrative they put to it, because they just take out a little bit out of what's and just put it on their plugs and, mislead the people. And not a lot of people have time to go back and sit down and actually watch, the show and see that, okay, that was not what she meant. I mean, they just took that out of context to like make whatever it is they wanted to make. I mean, news and make money from it. So that kind of just discouraged me. And I just felt to myself, I can't be doing this all the time. I just kind of took a back from that. And apart from the fact, I'm always very busy. So
because you're a jack of all trades.
I'm always very busy. Always very busy. Always very busy.
So I mean, before I delve into all the things that you do, because this is not really like an interview-based show. I feel like sometimes it gets really, it just gets the same old if you start asking people what they've answered before several times. And also because I know that I'm also behind the camera a lot of times as well. I hate when I do interviews and you ask me the same questions I've answered so many times. I'm like, dude, check the internet. You have the answer to that. But, what would you say? Because you've lived so many lives. Like, we can't even wait to get into that. What would you say would be the one thing out there that, the media wrote about you or said about you that really, really got to you?
So many things were written about me. It's not even one. It's multiple things were written about me. I'll start with my marriage first. The narrative came out when I said I was no longer married. I was separated at that time, not divorced. They painted a scenario saying my ex-husband was a marketer and I left him for another marketer or actor or whatever the story was. And, he was rich. I collected all his money and then I dumped him. Like, so where did this story come from? So my kids were young, so it was easy for me to deal with the emotional aspect of it because I knew that it was not affecting them in any way. They had no access. They were very little babies then. And so many.
Yeah.
There was a time, actually, I woke up one morning and I had over maybe 18 missed calls on my phone. And I was wondering what's going on. So I picked up, I called, what's going on? He said, oh, yeah, but thank God you're okay. We've all been worried about you. And I'm like, I'm fine. Haven't you seen today's paper? I said, what happened? I think it was in, oh, don't let me call names now, so I don't get sued. But one of those papers, because I can't really remember whether it was Punch or one of those papers.
Mm-hmm.
Punch, I'm not saying it's you, but I know it was one of those papers because I can't remember. And then the headline was like, Iyabo Ojo keeps guns for arm robbers.
You're lying.
Yeah. And I was like,
wait, what?
Yes, a long time. So I had to send one of my staff to go get the news, the mag or the newspaper. I can't remember. But when they brought it, I looked at it. I was like, this story. So I opened, you know the way they write the headlines in front, and then you have to go in to read. So when I got there, was another woman. Apparently, it wasn't me, but they put my picture there. Do you understand? And they wrote something about me,
yeah,
very tiny that you could not really see. And then they bolded the Iyabo Ojo, So a lot of people thought
that was the story. Poof. Yo.
And for a while, every time I go somewhere, it's like, you okay now? Sorry about that. I'm like, it wasn't me. Oh, really? I said, it wasn't me. It wasn't not like it was a fake news. It wasn't, it was a real news, but it wasn't my own Iyabo Ojo. It was one elderly woman then,
As a single mom, what was the hardest part of raising kids by yourself?
It was having to hide my pain.
Eesh.
It was because I just said to myself, my kids, I'm gonna love the hell out of them, and I'm gonna raise them with so much love that I'm not even gonna let them feel this mistake that I have made. Because it wasn't their choice
to be born
into an unsettled home. So I said I was gonna raise them in love. So even when I'm in my worst lows, I always have to hide. It kind of helped me build my strength, but it was painful initially having to do that. Most times I'm crying, they're coming in and wiping like, what's up? What do you want?
Girl, you're stronger than I am.
Yes. My kids, I would never, if I'm going down, I would like say, okay, please, I could call one of my sisters, can you help me take them out? Just take them somewhere. If I needed to vent most times. Sometimes I'm venting, they run into the room. What's going on? I say, I'm fine. Mom, you were shouting. No, I was just talking to somebody on the phone. I just kept lying. Christmas time, I had to always make sure for years. Priscilla clocked 15 or so before she could realize that, hello? Yeah. You actually divorced? Because how did you do that? They never felt it. They never knew. I made sure that every Christmas they get double gifts. Every Easter.
Well, for mom and dad?
Yeah, mom and dad.
Wow.
Yes. I did that for the longest of time. And every time they asked about their dad, oh, he's a traveler. Oh, your dad is a traveler. So they grew up with that. And I was like, hello, Gade. If you want to hear from these kids, you want to still be hearing their voice and you want to be seeing them, you better don't tell them another story. You're a traveler.
Wow.
But I gave him access to see the children. I gave him access to everything. Sometimes he comes to the house even when I'm there just to see the kids. And
at what point did you know that the situation wasn't working? Because sometimes I feel like a lot of women stay in these unhealthy situations for the children. For the longest, you hear so many women, say things like, the marriage was done, but I only stayed for my kids. And I'm going to be honest here.
Yeah.
If I had had a kid while I was married, I may have been one of those women.
Yeah.
Because I also had the trauma of losing both parents at the age of 8.
Yeah.
And I was adopted. I had a great life, which I'm thankful for. But there were times that I always sort of wondered what life could have possibly been like if that didn't happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for the sake of my children, I may have just said, you know what, just because I wanted them to have, as you said, gifts, mom, dad, I may have been one of those women. So I'm not even judging anyone right here. But, what was the point where you knew that, you know what, I'm just gonna leave? And did you not even live with one, two? That's a whole, it's loads. You know what I mean? If it's one child, I can even say, okay, I'll manage.
I was young.
Okay.
When I got married. And so I think a lot of decisions I took, if I was this age, I probably would not have taken it. Because now I'm more wiser, I have a better understanding about life. now I am more exposed. I am more, enlightened. So, but then I I was coming from a place where I was already damaged as a child.
Mm.
I'd been through, when you come from a very wealthy home, but you have to still raise yourself.
Mm.
It was like that.
Mm.
I didn't grow up to know my mom and my dad. And my mom and my dad, let me use that word, because I was living with my dad and my grandmother and his brothers. But my granny was my mom to me,
Mm.
right? And my dad, I used to call him his name, Speedy, like what everybody calls him. My dad was not like a dad. He was like a buddy, he was like a friend, he was like
Rolling
a brother,
stone.
he was like an uncle, because
Yeah.
he enjoyed life too
Too
much and he
much.
really
Yeah.
didn't have time to pay attention to me, right? And me growing up in that kind of situation where I didn't even know I didn't even know what they called mommy. I didn't know I had the mother. I knew my mom was out when I was about 7, and when I
Were
found
they
out about
married, or was it just a situation that happened?
they, they were not married.
Yeah.
They were never married, but they had my brother and they had me.
Mm.
Um, and I used to go buy like sweet stuff then just like not too far away from the house, all these malams that used to sell sweets.
Mm-hmm.
We say wusi wusi. Then
Mm.
yeah. And I saw this pretty woman sitting, and every time I want to pay for my sweet, she will pay. And she'll tell me to come back. So every time I get back from school, I always used to go there to get free sweet. For a while, later I didn't see her anymore. And I don't think I've spoken about this. For a while I didn't see her anymore. And one day I came back from school and my granny went to greet her, hug her, and then I saw. That was when I knew my granny was my granny. Because at that age, I
You
still
thought she
didn't
was your
know
mom.
who, I didn't know whether my granny was my granny. I just knew I grew up in the midst of, um, we used to call her mama, my bro, my dad. Then I didn't they didn't sit me down to explain mommy, daddy.
Mm.
So even when I was growing up in school and they were teaching about mommy and daddy, I used to go back home and always ask
Question.
mommy and daddy. And my granny would say, I'm your mommy and that's your daddy. And that's pointing to my dad. So I didn't know the difference. I didn't understand. I was so confused and lost as a child growing up. So, and we were young then, we hardly asked a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Unlike now when our kids can ask us deep
Yeah.
questions and any questions. I
Yeah.
mean, when you ask just one question and they give you an answer, you should be grateful to
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Sometimes they even snap at you and just be like, "Bro."
that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So when she told me that was my mom.
Wait, the woman who was giving you free sweets was your mom?
Yes.
You're lying.
Yes. When she told me that, and when I said, Auntie, and my granny asked me, do you know her? I said, yes. She said, hey, I said, yes, she used to stay at I mentioned the Malan's name, and he used to give us sweets, and my mom was like, my granny said something to my mom, I didn't hear. And because, I was, while she was talking to me, I was taking off my socks, taking off my shoes, kids now. But I remember that situation because, that was one of the most shocking time ever in my life as a child.
Mm.
And I could remember her say, oh, that's your mom. And I'm like, I know her. And then she take Iyabo, come. And then she said, bye. And she sat me and my brother together. And she's like, that's your mom. I said, no, you are my mom. She said, no, that's your mom. I said, no, you are my mom. She said, no, that's your mom. I said, oh, okay. But
yeah,
I was just
Isn't it wild how those memories stick? Like you have those memories in
yes,
your
I
mind.
still do. Like I can play it back every time. I can never forget that day. And that was the beginning of my confusion.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of all my confusion. Because then my granny had to do a lot of talking, telling me this is my dad, and then this is my mom, and my dad, he's her own son.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think my dad was like my uncle, but we just called him, like, they just said he was my dad.
Mm-hmm.
I was very confused about so many things. So they now had to explain everything for me. And, coming from that kind of situation, and then when I started getting raped, I really didn't know who to talk to about so many things. For so long in my life, I really didn't know who to explain things to. I just knew that I wanted to get out of this situation and find myself in this situation. I wanted a better situation for myself. Because my mom, at that time, when I first met her and I was allowed to go with her to see her, she was talking to herself and she was a bit aggressive. And I was like, what's going on? And later I found out she had mental health, which nobody explained to me. Not even my granny, not even my dad.
They probably didn't even know what it was back then.
Do you understand?
Thank God for the conversations now where
Yes,
people are
nobody
aware and we're
explained
like,
to me. But I noticed that when I'm walking on the road with her, people are always talking, and there was always so much pity. People were always pitying me. They dash me things. You know, and I didn't understand Yoruba until I was like 10, because my granny is Igbo, right? And we only spoke Igbo. Either she speaks at Igbo, which I don't really understand. I'm the worst of all day, but I mean, they speak Igbo, they speak English, and that was it. So Yoruba was something I learned on the streets, and when I got into secondary school, I started, you know, my Yoruba started getting better. You know, that's why to today I still don't speak the Jile Yoruba. So I was a lot of things my family did was they never explained a lot of things to me. So I really didn't know a lot of things. Now, for me, love was all about meals and bones. I don't know if you read that in second, and I was really addicted to it.
Those guys with the long hair. You know how they used to start their story, the back of his hair, and we just fell in love with the love that they always explained in those books.
And so when I found out I was pregnant, you know, and my my ex-husband came and said, okay, you know what? I love you. I love you. Each when he said I love you, I just believed I love you. And I just went with the flow of the I love you based on the meals and bones that we used to read. You know? When I got into the house, it was a different ball game, you know. And for me, he was never there. So it was like, you know, when you're trying to find and form your own family where there's an understanding, there's growth. There's a journey that you guys can go together, and you find yourself that you're just living this journey all alone. And this is what I was doing when I was, you know, when I was by myself. I was on my own because nobody really explained anything to me. They only explained to me when the situation arises for them to do so. Do you understand? Nobody explained anything to me. It was that bad. The first time I saw my period, I didn't even know what period was. I could remember running to my dad and just opened my legs. I'm bleeding. I went to my brother. They had to send me back to my granny. And then she had to sit me down and tell me, it's a woman's thing. Don't touch it. At that time, I didn't let any guy come close to me because of the lectures that my granny gave me. So like, I didn't know anything. I remember when I go to school, I wasn't wearing bra. I was always acting like a tomboy because I grew up among boys. And when I get to school, my best friend in secondary school, Tim Lade, was the first person who told me, yeah, but you have to be wearing bra. I said, what is called bra? Do you understand? And it's like, this is bra. You have to wear. So what I'm saying in a nutshell, that I grew up on my own, not knowing so many things. And I didn't want that. And for me, when my marriage got to that place where I knew that I was living with a total stranger and I didn't know so many things, he lied, said so many lies, which I don't want to talk about now because I want to respect my children, you know, and that kind of, I got to a stage, I was just done. I said, you know what? My kids are not going to go through what I went through. Do you understand? And I'm not going to allow them be in a toxic environment because it was getting toxic. We're always fighting. I was always angry because it was always never there. And I was like, you know what? This guy don't love me. He said it the first night on the wedding night. He said it again. I'm going to leave my children.
Well done. I mean, that was literally a crash course. It's amazing how, as I said, people just don't have any idea of all the demons you've had to fight through to get to this version of you. And this version of you is so beautiful and it's so inspiring. How did you forgive your folks?
Yes, I forgave them after I read that part that says, honor your mother and your father so that your days shall be long.
Have you ever spoken to them about how it hurt
I did. I spoke to, they both apologized to me. And you see, when I was younger, I was angry. But as I grew up and I matured, because I matured very early, right? I began to understand that it wasn't my mother's fault because she had mental health issues. You know, and I began to read more about mental health. And then I began to love her more and understand her. Though it is never easy to take care of someone that has mental health, trust me. Because I had to do a lot of talking to my children also, because at the time she came to live with me and they all grew up seeing this woman who was always talking to herself and sometimes getting very angry and aggressive. And I had to make my children understand that she's not a witch and she's not wicked. It's just a mental health, you know, working.
She's sick,
and
basically.
She's sick. And so my kids, after a while, they kind of were
Understood.
afraid of her, but later they understood and they knew how to navigate around her. So I had forgiven them, because the way, you see, I feel the way God sometimes designs your life, because you sit back and you wonder, what was I even, I mean, I used to ask myself, there was a time I was born again and I was in the choir and I was so deep in and everything I
church.
do, I'm very like,
Mm-hmm.
how will I put
What's
it?
your zodiac sign, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm a Sagittarius,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I'm very like
You're never half
aggressive.
measures. You're
Yeah, I
always like
go
all
all
the way.
in. So when I was in church between the age of 19 till I had Priscilla, I was very rooted in the Word of God. And but in every verse that I had read over and over, it was just that particular verse that never left my head.
Mm.
And I feel that God was preparing me.
Mm.
He was preparing me, because I had to forgive my parents so that I could move on, so that I could know that I did not deserve the marriage in which I found myself in, because I was looking for someone the love I did not
Oof.
directly get.
Mm.
Now, my dad loved me, but my dad, which I've never really talked about before, was a drug addict. Do you understand? He was a rich child that came from a spoiled home, and he was a drug addict. He had access to so much money because my grandfather was so rich.
Mm.
You understand? And he's the late part Ogunro, because my surname is actually Ogunro, not Ujo.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad was a spoiled child with his brothers, and all they did was drink, smoke, and live
Life.
right? So, but I never, my dad never had time to sit with me and talk. The only time my dad sat down with me and spoke to me was when I was getting married. He was like, "No, you can't marry that guy. He's from a poor home. I mean, I heard you he lives in Mushi. Where's Mushi? How can you go to Mushi? And I heard you entered the public transport to go to Mushi. Are you not gonna live in Mushi? I heard that. I know that. Okay, no. I'm going to get married to you." Like, we had a big fight. I was like, okay. All right, let the guy come. And when he came, my dad told him, "Oh, come. You can't marry my daughter. I'll kill you." Because my dad was gangster like that. I
Yeah.
was like, "No way, Dad, you can't talk to my husband like that." I said, "He's not your husband, you're not married." And my dad was serious, because on my introduction, he got up, he left. He refused. My granny and his own elder brother married me off to my husband. So I mean, that was the first time I said, I said, "Me too, I disown you." We disowned each other. Because my dad was not really like a dad
He was like a
figure.
friend,
He was
like
like
a
a
buddy.
brother, like an uncle, like and he was never strict. That was the only time my dad had never raised his hand to, tap me like this. I became his mom even at a very young age. You understand? So all that, for me, when I could forgive all that and let go of all that, and I didn't have to question my mom, "Why did you leave me? Why didn't she?" Had her own story anyway. My mom, my granny, and my dad came to take us away from her, blah blah blah. But I was angry initially when I was young. And when I first got raped, I was still angry. And after my second rape, I gave my life to Christ. I started going to church. And when I saw that part in the Bible, I was like, I had
I'm
to
gonna
let it
let
go.
go.
And I
Yeah.
started paying attention to my mom. Ever since, I would take money from my granny, from my uncle. Everybody used to give me money in the house. So I collect money from everybody, save it up. My auntie, there was a time I went to live with her. She's married to one of the Ebenezer Obey's sons. I collect all the money from all of them. And I always used to go and give my mom. So at the age of 13, do you understand? I started giving my mom money, though I had not really forgiven her and I've not really shown her so much love, but I just knew that I
It was
had to
your
take care of this woman,
responsibility.
right?
Yeah.
So I used to go give her money, until when I got to like 17, 18. Then when I gave my life to Christ, I now spoke to my pastor and I went through counseling, and then I started relating with her, because then nobody could talk to me. No one could tell me, "Hey, if my mom says, hey, yeah," I said, "I don't, you were never there, so you can't advise me."
Do you think that all of these things also helped you to be the best version of the mother you never had
Yes.
for your kids?
Yes. When I went to my husband's house the first time when he was still dating, I didn't even know that they was face me and slap me. You see, sometimes don't blame the rich when they don't understand the problems of the poor, because these children never know exactly. If I never went to national college, I don't know how God prepared my life. I probably won't understand what poverty is all about. I won't understand why people are shouting every day. In my house, in Obani Koro, Number 2, Fawole Lane. We had a industrial generator. I don't even know that. I never knew there was anything called like NEPA, up NEPA and down NEPA. Once the light goes off, it comes on, like in 1 second, the light is up. My granny was like one of the richest women in those days. I had the car to myself that takes me to school and bring me back. The only time I experienced poverty was when I married my ex-husband.
How was that for you? Because
initially,
you came from home where there was always lights, and then you had to now manage with this guy.
It was fun. I remember the first time that
let me tell you why it was fun, because you had lived in wealth.
Yes.
So this was like some sort of journey, an adventure.
Yes,
for you.
It was an adventure, and you know.
Imagine poverty being an adventure, girl.
You know, and when I clocked 18, I had an account open for me because my grandfather had done his will in a way whereby money was paid into our account as grandchildren. So I had money. You can imagine as a 1997, 98, I had over 100 and something thousand in my account. Do you understand? As a 25, 26 years ago, little monies that they put into our accounts for, whatever domestic things that we wanted to buy. And I never used to use it. So, I mean, I didn't know what they call poverty. I was never broke. I just never had the attention I wanted. I never got that attention, based on the kind of parents I had. My mom was never there. Even after she came for a while, she took us. I ran away. I ran back to the house because I couldn't live with her mental health. I didn't understand all that. And I wanted to go to school. And my mom didn't have time. Because sometimes she's in her moment. And my mom denied medication. She refused medication because she termed it as spiritual. She never accepted that there was anything wrong with her. So I had to run back to my dad's house. I didn't even meet my dad. I met my granny. And so for me, when I went there, the only thing I just wanted was the attention that I was getting at that time. The whole, the people living in the house with him, I thought they were all family. It was gradually I knew that they were tenants. I never knew what was called tenants, because in our home, there's nothing called tenants. Anybody coming to live, there's either family or someone's friend or someone's, There was, I said, okay, tenants. Oh, I thought that woman is everybody's mom. I said, no, that's the landlady. I said, oh, okay, your mom. Oh, yeah, your mom is late. But I thought she was like your mom's sister. I said, yeah, but this is a rented, like people can rent one room. Oh, you can rent one room for real? I didn't know. And when they took light and we had to spread the mat outside, I was so happy. It was fun until, it hits me. Until when I started getting broke, because I had to first withdraw all the money I had in my account. And that's why I opened my first shop. I was 21 when I opened my first shop.
Yeah, you were quite the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Because you're always doing something.
Yeah, because they cut me off. They literally cut me off everything. The money was not entering into my account. They didn't freeze my account. My dad actually did that. But we had the fight back and forth, and then they allowed me to take my money. And when I took the money out of that bank, I knew this book can freeze this account. So I just went straight. But they even stopped giving me anything. I didn't receive nothing. And so then it started happening to me. Like, okay, no money.
Yeah.
How am I going to survive? I said, oh, God, come bring money. It's like, I don't have money. What do you mean you don't have money? But you told me this. So the problem started. And everything was just going on and on. But I knew I was going to be great, because the moment I could find it in my heart to forgive my parents and love them and take good care. I took good care of my dad, because all while my dad was fighting me not to get married, he was already dealing with kidney and liver problems, and he didn't know. He kept that away from us. He got to a stage. I even offered to give him my kidney. They said he got to a stage where he was just unrepairable. They even told him when he was going to die. Do you understand? He got really bad because my dad never stopped taking. In fact, they had to always smuggle it in. I would always fight everybody. So he got that bad. He got that bad that he had sold almost everything he had on drugs.
That's crazy.
Do you understand? And when it was time for him to have money to really take care of himself, the money wasn't really forthcoming anymore. Do you understand? And then I had to step in.
Every time I see your video pop up, I look at you and I'm just like, this is someone who is well in her 40s, found love again. living life
That love thing,
unapologetically.
yes,
I'm
so
like, my God.
that love thing was, I don't know, I think God did that one. It wasn't me.
Girl,
Because
like,
I
I
mean,
like how you smile when we talk about it. Because you're
I
like a little girl
love him.
again.
I love him. I love Polo so much. I
Really?
don't know how that happened, but it happened.
Wow, girl. You have to tell me, were you open to the possibility of like, I mean, your kids are grown now, so clearly you must have had relationships,
Yes.
all through the years. But
Yes,
how
I
did you know
did.
that, okay, you know what? I'm going to be all in this one.
Okay, so
Look at how you're blushing.
you
I mean,
know,
it's giving me hope, Sha, that at least, you know
you
what I
have
mean?
to, like, everything I ticked and said I was never going to do or believe in, he kind of changed the narrative for me. Because I mean, no one has ever slid into my DM and I would like give you 1 second attention. It's not possible, And I never knew him.
Mm.
I never knew him. And when his message popped up, I was like, okay, who's this one? So I went on his page first, checked him out. I saw his page was verified. So I checked. I said, okay, this one is not saying all these fraudsters. Okay, okay. So I noticed that, he knows a lot of musicians and stuff. I don't want anybody in the entertainment industry.
We're so alike. That's how I am. I don't
I
want to
don't
date
want,
anyone in the
I
industry.
don't want story. Oh my God, my story is going to be out every blessed day. No, I'm not doing this. So that was like a no, no, no for me. I was like, I'm not dating any entertainer. I'm not. But I just felt like, okay, let me just respond. Because I mean, I said, okay, let me respond. I'll just respond. With someone like this, you just keep them one corner as a friend, but don't date them. So I just said, yeah. He said, good. I was okay. He has begged me never to say what he wrote. So he sent a message. I like responded. I greeted him, and he was like, he wanted to invite me over for his show, One Africa in Dubai.
Do you think that him seeing you on Real Housewives helped? Because let me tell you
No,
this.
he
I
didn't.
want you to
No,
finish the
he
story.
had asked me out before Real Housewife.
Eh.
Yes, he
Because
had
let me
asked me
tell you
out.
why I asked that question. I feel like a lot of people have always known about the legendary actor. You know, you can't talk about Yoruba Nollywood
No.
and your name wouldn't come up.
Yeah.
Top 5, it would always be Funke Akindele, Iyabo Ojo,
Yeah.
and Ola Badmus. They will always
Yeah.
mention, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And Real Housewives was
Yes.
way off your alley. I mean, the first time I heard you were
We
coming
had
on
not
that
we had
show,
not even started shooting Real Housewife
when you
because
guys met.
yes, because
Okay.
we started, for me, Real Housewife started filming on my mom's burial party,
Okay.
and that was November 21. And he slid into my DM in October.
Okay.
So it wasn't even, I had not even started, but we started filming proper the following year in January, which was 2022. So when he did that, he said he wanted to invite me for his show, and I'm like, I'm traveling. I'm not going to be able to come. And even if I wasn't, I was going to go. But I said I wasn't going to go. But I used that as an excuse. He said, okay, when you come back. I said, okay, but I'm not interested in dating you. He said, okay, that's fine. It's good that you're in a relationship. I said, but why don't you want to date me? I said, because you're a married man. He said, no, I'm not married. I said, oh my God. Then I went back on his page. I said, checking for him. This man, like when you want to catch somebody.
Yeah.
Then I started calling my close friends. Come, do you know this person? He said, I know him. He's a nice man. I'm not asking if he's a nice man. Is he married? My friend said, I don't know. But I know he's, he has a daughter. He has a son. He's a very good dad. He loves his children, but I don't know whether he's married. This one does not want to give me gist. So and when I met Chioma, I would just ask anybody that I know might know him. I just kept asking questions about him. So one day he said, are we going to speak on the phone like this? I said, okay, send your number. So I said, are you married again? I said, I'm not married. How can you not be married? So,
why are you not married?
He said, why are you not married? He said, ha, wahala. Am I under interrogation? I have 2 children and I'm good. It didn't work out for us and that's it. I said, okay, but I'm not, I have no intentions to date you. He said, okay, it's fine, but at least can we do dinner?
Wow.
I said, but I don't
like
want
a persistent man.
Yes. I said, but I don't want to date you. He said, we can be friends now. We don't have to be enemies. I said, okay. I have a boyfriend. He said, it's no problem. I'll just be one corner there. I'll be your friend. I reluctantly, I called Layoli. You know Layoli?
Yes.
And I said, Layoli, this man said we should go for dinner. She said, go. Mr. Polo, go 49. I said, what, Becky? I'm not going. I don't know what to wear. She said, yeah, but with those minion clothes you have in there, you have one to wear. Just go. What is wrong with you? Just go. I said, I don't want anything that will be on social media. I just don't want it. She said, just go. The wildlife is too much. So I went. And we said, excuse me, sir. They said you're into brand stuff. I'm not here for you to give me a job. He said, why are you always attacking me? I said, let me attack you. I'm not here for that. I have a boyfriend, so let's eat and let's go. And he was just like, okay, you know what? It's fine. So one day again, I don't know what happened. I just sent him a message. I said, I don't want to date you.
You just sent him a random message?
Yes. I said, I don't want to date you. So can we just all this thing that we are doing? He said, okay, it's fine. But as at that time, I'd gotten so used to calling him every time, and he calls me too. And I will be gisting him. So I felt like I'm already telling him too many things about me. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't even know this person. You're just telling him too many things about you. Is it because you don't want to date him? But you don't know him. So, just cut it off. So I just called him. I said, you know what? I don't think I want to do this again. He said, okay, it's fine. No problem. But can we be friends? I said, yeah, we can be friends, but I don't want to talk to you anymore.
All the time.
He said, okay, no problem. It's fine. I'll give you your space. But just know that I'm not, in one corner there. I said, okay. So one day he didn't call. Second day he didn't call. This guy is not calling me. I mean, too, I'm doing hard girl,
Hard girl.
Okay, so I'm like, let me just use Shakara and ask
him. Check up on him.
Check up on him. So I just said, hi. Say, my old beam. I said, no, I'm not your old beam. I'm not your old beam. I just said, hi. I said, I know you are my old beam. Hey, you're going to love me. How are you? Do you want me to call you? Do you have something to tell me? Do you want to take something off your chest? I said, yes. I even want to talk about this, because then we had started Real Housewife. And I was like, I want to talk about this. And then he would just stay on the phone. I can be on the phone with him for 2-3 hours. I'm just talking. This man is just there listening to all the bullshit I'm talking about.
That is so sweet. You know what? I'm just looking and realizing you got your nails and bones.
I'm telling you.
You actually did.
I did.
Because this is like one of those funny stories how the man likes the girl and
yes,
the girl is like,
I don't want
get
my nails and
bones. You did get your nails and bones.
But, one thing again, when we started talking, I said, okay, you know what? I like you, but I don't believe in marriage. He said, me too, I don't believe in marriage. Okay, we understand.
Hey, yeah.
I'm not having kids anymore. Say, are you funny at 55? Am I going to be thinking of kids? Okay, 2 check. Okay, 1, 2. I just want to have a companion, someone that we can be friends. But I would love to travel. I like to travel a lot. So, good. I also like to travel. Okay. So, he was just marking all the checks for me. Tick, 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 tick. And I said, okay, you know what? I think this is it to go. And then we started. And then you saw us, and then you video us.
I was like, what is going on here? Let me tell you guys what happened. So I went to this event. And Polo, of course, Oga Polo, we're always like, Oga Polo, we talk all the time about work and stuff, and he always looks out for me in this industry. Yeah. So I greeted him, and of course I know her. So but I didn't know they were together. And then they sat in front of me, and next thing I just saw his hand. I was like, what is going on here? And I was the last person. Everybody on the table was like, they're together now. I said, wait, what? But it was so beautiful because these are two people who've lived life, traveled different journeys. And the reason why I wanted us to have this conversation is there are loads of women who, myself included, who are probably at a point in their lives where they feel like they've missed the boat. You know what I mean? Either they focused on building a career, or they, left the marriage and they just don't think they can get it back. Yeah. Nobody wants to be alone. And out there, the dating game is trash.
I used to say I was never going to get married or be in a relationship.
I mean, marriage at the end of the day is just a piece of paper. Yeah. What you have with someone might be greater and bigger than people who've been married for 20 years. As long as you people have had your fair share of lives, he's lived his life, you've lived yours, you've been through a marriage, you've raised 2 beautiful kids. He's got 2 kids, so it's a blended situation. And as you said, what beats traveling the world, having a soulmate you can talk to for hours on the phone, supporting each other. Yeah. What again are you looking for? I love the closeness between you and your kids, and how you raise them to always have a voice, and how to always come to you and have that conversation. It's so amazing. And of course, we cannot round up the interview without talking about Iyabo Ojo, the TikToker, because it's like as I said, she's like 2.0. There's even the Gen Z can relate with you. Do you know what I mean? How did you become so relatable? Because a lot of people are stuck reinventing themselves, as you said. You started out, in the movie industry, then you were now focused mainly in the Yoruba movie industry, and then crossed over with this reality TV show. Everyone got to see you.
No, I started with you, but then I went back to English. I started producing my own English movies. So I did Silence, I did Beyond Disability, I did Twisted Twins. I did a couple of English movies. I started doing cinema movies, and then I switched into what's it called, hospitality. So I started focusing more on my business, as
because you got this karaoke thing
because I had
on.
the lounge and then the eatery and everything, the Abula spots. Then I started doing more business, bringing my boutique business back, going into interior decor, just doing the salon business. I was doing so many business, and at that time I didn't even have time acting my Yoruba movies anymore, or even producing English movies. So I took a break, and I said to myself, even if I'm going to go back to production, I'm not really doing Yoruba anymore. And then I got myself a manager who was Lioli, and who said, you know what, Yabo, we're going places. Because then COVID happened. Everybody got locked down.
Yeah.
And I started doing TikTok.
Yeah. I started TikTok too, but you just took over.
I know.
Because I would be like...
Then you guys started, but you guys started the posh way, so I went the ghetto way.
Is that what it was?
That's what it was.
I just thought I would watch your TikToks forever and be like, oh my God, she's so
you guys are doing it for fun. I took it like a career. It was like,
because I didn't have enough time for it.
I think I had missed acting.
Yeah.
I had missed, all that. And I was like, you know what? And Priscilla actually taught me how to use TikTok.
Yeah. But you're so good on there as well. So. And then why did you decide to do the reality TV show? What was it that made you say, you know what, I'm going to do this?
I think I love reinventing myself, and I love trying new things. I love trying new things, because I believe that there's so much in one person. Yeah. So much in a human that you can exploit. So I just thought, you know what, okay, let's give it a try. Let's see how it goes.
And Iyabo.
I was a little bit, skeptical about it initially. I was like, God, people are going to know me,
No, but I would tell you this. You're one of I always used to say this, even it's nice for me to say it to your face. I think you're very beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Like, I say this, yourself, Mercy Aibe, I think you guys are stunning.
Yeah.
Like, even watching you, I'm like, oh my God, you're stunning. Your features are so great.
Yes,
so
I'm beautiful. I am beautiful.
Yes, she is, as you can see. And please never lose this child. Like, this is working. I absolutely love it. And on that note, there's nothing else to say.
Nothing.
There's absolutely nothing else to ask her. At 45, looking like she's a baddie at 28. Thank you so much for inspiring. This you did for me. And I'm grateful. And I hope that we get to sit down again when it all happens for me. And I hope I get to tell you that you said it and that
it will go good. It will, don't worry.
It will. It's a accomplishment. That's why I'm podcasting. So,
sorry.
It's fine.
Okay, so we need to hug. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It will happen. Definitely.
And I'm holding you to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, guys. I'm still a hard bitch, okay? Just because I cried a little bit. But thank you guys for watching. I will catch up with you guys in the next episode of TokeMoments.